Top of the day, beautiful people. Hold on, I'm trying to get Facebook on. Got me doing it through this the business app. It's weird. Sometimes I can't hit like live. Whew. All right, beautiful people. Happy Monday. Monday. Yeah, Monday. Happy Monday, beautiful people. It is October the 10th, 2022, day 235 of year 4 of reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets, and of the 4-year consecutive day count. We are at day 1253. Today, we still in Oahspe in the Book of Inspiration, starting on page 704, which is chapter 704. Chapter 7, right? 8. Yeah, chapter 8, y'all. I get it together. Oh my gosh, you know how hard it was to wake up to go live at 1:15. Clearly, I'm a little bit outside of my time again. But anywho, I'm here. I made it. Nini, shalom, sis. Our girl, shalom. Benag, greetings. Shayla, that's Twabble Great Rising's cousin. Kendra, shalom. Hannah, shalom, and happy day. BC, shalom. Let me see. I was just finishing your last live right on time. Okay, come through BC with the time calculation. Set apart, grand rising, everybody, global purpose. Shalom. This out of the way. All right, y'all. And everybody else here hanging out in the background. Top of the day, beautiful people. I need. Hold on. 1 second. Let me get my water. Aloha. All right, y'all. Oh, good gracious. Let's see. Before I get started, write it down first. I forgot what I was going to say. You know what? I think I used that before. I was standing in the shower. Hold on. Nope. I'll use that. Father, we thank you that you are the sunrise. Yeah. All right, beautiful people, let's get started. I'm really still trying to wake myself up. Heard the alarm. I set double alarms to make sure I got up, drinking a bunch of water. Then it was today. I don't know. It's probably like the hardest to like get up, like break the sleep between the night, because when I'm done going back to sleep, Gloria, grand rising. I be trying. Oh my gosh. I set the clock. It's supposed to be live at 1:15, right? I set it for 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. And then when it went off, I heard it when it went off, because we got back here in time enough to where I could get what? I got like 3 hours of sleep. Maybe almost close to like 4 hours. But I can still feel it. It's just like, I don't know, it's hard to get the body switched over from like Eastern time to acclimate, because we walking down the street yesterday, and we looked at the time, was like, oh man. But it was already like 2 o'clock in the morning. back there, back at home, and it's still sun is out shining bright and everything. People just, just in the afternoon just going. I'm like, oh, but it's nice and bright, but I could feel like my body inwardly felt like I'm still on East Coast time, because it's like, man, I feel like a zombie walking around out here. That's why we got back just a little bit early yesterday, shortly after we did our helicopter tour. We just came back. It was like we have to go lay down. All right, y'all. So, but we did the helicopter tour. It was great. We toured the island of Oahu. They have ones where, well, they actually have flights, helicopter rides for each island. We were thinking we were going to get to at least tour the 5 islands, but the ones that they do over here, they do like that big tour, and they call that like a full day tour. But they do that from like actually Hawaii, the big island Hawaii. We're over on Oahu, so but still it was just about an hour, and it was great. So I was okay. A couple times I thought dude was gonna fly right into the side of one of the mountains, and I'm up there shaking. And then I just like closed my eyes a couple times. I done nodded off, because once I got myself relaxed, I had to keep repeating to myself, Pam, you're going to be okay. You're not going to fall out the side. We have doors, because they actually have them where you could take the tour with or without doors, right? I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to tempt the Father too much, right? And I'm glad we use the doors, because the helicopter driver, he's like he's turning around in circles. We're like doing like this. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gripping onto my husband's leg, probably almost burst a couple of his veins and stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is too much. But after we did the turns, I think it was the turns that kind of got me. But when we leveled back out, it was okay. Kind of like that peace you get when we were up in the air parasailing, but we was like way higher than what we were when we were parasailing. But it was good. I enjoyed myself. So I forgot what else we did. I'm so tired. Trying to think about, we did something else yesterday. What was the first thing we did? I had to break out my calendar. I forgot, because it was early. I forgot, y'all. But anyway, let me get started. Mom. Shalom, shalom. All right, beautiful people. We are on page 704, chapter 8. The chapter in Roman numerals is VII. Verse 1, let's get it. Although all inspiration goeth from me to all the living directly, yet I also created man susceptible to indirect inspiration from all my creations. Whatsoever receiveth from me direct is in harmony with me. The lily and the rose I created perfect in their order. The female bird I inspired to build her nest in season, perfect in her order. Even so it is with all my created beings, save man. All the rest err not in the order I made them, and they all fulfill the glory for which I made them. This reminds me of something, and y'all done heard me say it here a couple of times, but it's been a while since I said it. One of my old pastors had said it. He said, you know what? The human race is the only ones that ain't doing really what they supposed to be doing. Everything else, the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, it fulfills the purpose of what it was designed to do. It's just us that sometimes, who are we? What was supposed to be? Was I born a man or was I born a woman? I don't. And some people, they have human handlers, and some of them is taking as far. They want to be a dog, they want to be a cat, and they're dressing up, and like you would think they're getting ready for something like anime, maybe do a little skit or something. No, like this is like their life. And they have other human beings with the mindset just as close to they are. Oh, well, can I walk you? Well, I'm a dog walk all of y'all. Listen. But yeah, sometimes it's us, we give the creator the hardest time, right? Just do it, do what I designed you to do. Listen. Verse 3. The lily and the rose I created perfect in their order. The female bird I inspired to build her nest in season, perfect in her order. Even so it is with all my created beings, save man. All the rest err not in the order I made them, and they all fulfill the glory for which I made them. But because I made man capacitated to receive inspiration from all things, he manifesteth both evil and good according to his birth and surroundings. So is man good or bad, right? And clearly we know man is a blank slate when he comes in here, and those angels, messengers, ashars, Lewis that watch you and the life cycles that happen before you come into the world. That's how they can properly predict or prophesy what you shall be, right? And we should all be able to do that if we but pay attention and observe some things. Tikva Shalom says, Anita, greetings. Look, I seen y'all did a video yesterday, the ladies. I'm like, oh snap, I missed this. I ain't been able to catch nothing since we've been out here. We just been going, exploring all this stuff. I got a lot of catching up with videos to do, y'all. I'm a little saddened that I missed that. I was like, oh my gosh, the ladies in ghetto. Okay, but I'm gonna go back and watch that, y'all. Probably, I don't know if it's gonna be today because we're like booked today. We're doing Pearl Harbor today. Matter of fact, as soon as I get off here, I'm gonna keep it as close to an hour as possible because I have to go back to sleep. But we're doing Pearl Harbor. We need to be there at we need to be there getting ready, getting prepped and stuff at like 8. And then after that, and that's gonna take us to the good part of the rest of the morning. We'll be done. It's about 12:45 with the whole package and stuff we got for that. And then we got a few hours R&R to do whatever it is we're gonna do before our luau tonight. And we need to be over there at 5. So, and that's gonna take us, into the night, right? Okay. All right, y'all. Verse 5. Let me read 4 again just because. Even so is it with all my created beings, save man. All the rest err not in the order I made them, and they all fulfill the glory for which I made them. But because I made man capacitated to receive inspiration from all things, he manifesteth both evil and good according to his birth and surroundings. So is man good or bad. Nevertheless, I created man with capacity to comprehend this also, for I designed him from the first to work his way up to the Godhead, understanding all below him. And I sent my angels to man, teaching him how to distinguish the difference in the inspirations upon him, that he might govern himself accordingly. And my angels said unto man, Become thou one with thy Creator. These are his direct inspirations. Verse 9, to love thy Creator above all else, and thy neighbor as thyself, to give delights only and not pain, to kill not, to do not violently against his creatures, to be considerate of the liberty of all the living, to interdict not the happiness and hope of others, only where thou canst return and transcend and I'm sorry, verse 14 over. To interdict not the happiness and hope of others, only where thou canst return a transcendent glory and hope in place thereof. For these are direct inspirations from thy Creator. But these are thy evil inspirations, O man. These come from thy birth and surroundings, formerly called Satan, to kill, to slander, to punish, to destroy Jehovah's created beings, to strive for thyself above another, to gratify thy flesh at the expense of purity or wisdom, to be false to Jehovah, to be false to thyself, to speak falsely, to covet another's, to cohabit in the gestative period. I'm just, that might be wrong, but I'm just kind of glad I heard about that after we'd had all our kids. I'm gonna read it again. To cohabit in the gestative period. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about the other one. Um, um, when it tells you that after the woman has conceived, that and I forget exactly where that was, that they shouldn't come together again until after the child is born, right? I mean, I can see that. I mean, I think I kind of understand it a little bit, but I'm just like, you know, I'm glad I didn't even, because who would ever thought about that? Verse 28, to engage in strife or to aid and abet conflicts, which are the fruit of carnivorous food transmitted in birth. Let me read that again. Hold on. Let me just read all of those again. Go back, go back to 8. And my angels said unto man, become thou one with thy creator. These are his direct inspirations: to love thy creator above all else, and thy neighbor as thyself, to give delights only and not pain, to kill not, to do not violently against his creatures, to be considerate of the liberty of all the living, to interdict not the happiness and hope of others, only where thou canst return a transcendent glory and hope in place thereof. For these are direct inspirations from thy Creator. But these are thy evil inspirations, O man. These come from thy birth and surroundings, formerly called Satan: to kill, to slander, to punish, to destroy Jehovah's created beings, to strive for thyself above another, to gratify thy flesh at the expense of purity or wisdom, to be false to Jehovah, to be false to thyself, to speak falsely, to covet another's, to cohabit in the gestative period, to engage in strife, or to aid and abet conflicts, which are the fruit of carnivorous food transmitted in birth. Yeah, okay. So I'm glad I read it again, because verse 27, I said it right. This is the last ones we read is the ones that you shouldn't be doing. And verse 27 says to cohabit in the gestative period, meaning that they've made it okay now. The whole time the woman is pregnant, y'all can go at it, do as thou wilt. But earlier on, it explained why we shouldn't, right? So, okay. Next chapter, chapter 9, or chapter IX on page 705. Man, I created with capacity to distinguish my direct from my indirect inspirations, saith Jehovah. And my angels gave him rules whereby he might make manifest the difference betwixt the two. Man has said, behold, any man may say, thus saith Jehovah. One killeth his neighbor, saying, I was thus inspired of Jehovah. Another practiced all goodness, and his words are wisdom and comprehension. And he said, I was inspired by Jehovah. I say unto thee, O man, in this also I gave thee liberty. Therefore, judge thou thyself which came from me, and which from his surroundings, Satan. Like, everybody can't be getting the inspiration and saying it's me. He said, but I ain't gonna hold you to it, but I want you to observe and pay attention and see which one really comes from me. Right? I'll read it again. Man I created with capacity to distinguish my direct from my indirect inspirations, saith Jehovah. And my angels gave him rules whereby he might make manifest the difference betwixt the two. Man has said, behold, any man may say, thus saith Jehovah. One killeth his neighbor, saying, I was thus inspired of Jehovah. Another practiced all goodness, and his words are wisdom and comprehension. And he said, I was inspired by Jehovah. I say unto thee, O man, in this I also gave thee liberty. Therefore, judge thou thyself, which came from me, and which from his surroundings, Satan. Thou shalt be thy own judge in all things. Behold, I sent my God to judge thee, but thou shalt also judge the judgments of thy God, and afterward thou shalt judge thyself in the same way. So we all remember here that God and Jehovah is not the same person, right? We all remember that. We comprehend that correctly. God is simply like the president of the earth and the heavens above the earth, but above Ether, there are other ones in charge, right? Okay. I say unto thee, O man, in this I also gave thee liberty. Therefore judge thou thyself, which came from me, and which from his surroundings, Satan. Thou shalt be thine own judge in all things. Behold, I sent my God to judge thee, but thou shalt also judge the judgments of thy God, and afterward thou shalt judge thyself in the same way. A perpetual judge created I thee, not only to judge thyself and all the world beside, but thou shalt judge me, thy creator. I have given thee many sacred books, and I said to thee, say thou judgest them, thou shalt be caught in a snare. I charge thee, thou shalt accept nothing from men, nor angels, nor gods, but thou shalt rely on thy own inspiration from thy Creator. Such is my word which I speak to thine own soul. What cometh to thee from man is indirect inspiration. What cometh from an angel is indirect. And what cometh from the gods, gods with an S, and there are multiple. What cometh from the gods is indirect. No direct inspiration of me can come to thee from a book, nor a sermon, nor from anything in all my creations, but only from me, thy Creator. Though one man received direct inspiration from me, and he write it in a book, yet when it cometh to thee, it is indirect inspiration, and is not binding upon thee, only so as far as my direct inspiration upon thee moveth thee to receive it. Yet not all men created I with the same clearness to perceive me and to frame my wisdom in words. Few only will turn away, few only will turn away from the inspiration of the world and come unto me. Many profess me in words, but they do not fulfill my inspiration in practice. My words come easily to the pure in heart, and my wisdom showeth itself in the frame of their speech. Highlighters. This is good, y'all. Hold on. Let me highlight this. I'm gonna highlight this whole thing. I'm gonna just do a strip down. Put this. All right. I'll go back up to 14. No, let me go back to 11. Such is my word which I speak to thy own soul. What cometh to thee from a man is indirect inspiration. What cometh from an angel is indirect, and what cometh from the gods is indirect. No direct inspiration of me can come to thee from a book, nor a sermon, nor from anything in all my creations, but only from me, thy creator. The one man received direct inspiration from me, and he write it in a book. Yet when it cometh to thee, it is indirect inspiration, and is not binding upon thee, only so far as my direct inspiration upon thee moveth thee to receive it. Yet not all men created I with the same clearness to perceive me and to frame my wisdom in words. Few only will turn away from the inspiration of the world and come unto me. Many profess me in words, but they do not fulfill my inspiration in practice. My words come easily to the pure in heart, and my wisdom showeth itself in the frame of their speech. For I give them words, even as I give to the animal inspiration to do perfectly and wisely the parts for which I created them. Behold, I show the dumb spider how to weave its geometrical net. Is it greater wonder for me to give words of wisdom to a righteous man? That's good. Or to put him in the way of receiving my revelations? Or to show him the harmony and glory of my creations? And those were questions. That's good. Next chapter, y'all. Chapter 10, or chapter X. Tabitha, shalom, sis. Hey, girl, hey. Trina, happy Monday. Shalom, shalom. Okay, chapter 10, page 705. In the first creation, none heard me or saw me, saith Jehovah. And even to this day, many men deny me and my person. To teach thee, O man, that thou shouldest be considerate of thy brother's talents. Behold, what a labor for my gods and ministering angels. To show thee that no two men see anything alike I created, to make thee cautious, that because thou canst not hear me, thou shalt not judge thy brother who can hear me, to induce thee thus and thus without interfering with thy liberty. Let me start over. Let me go back. Let me go back to the beginning. Shebrew, hey girl, hey. All right, chapter 10, verse 1. In the first creation, none heard me or saw me, saith Jehovah. And even to this day, many men deny me and my person. To teach thee, O man, that thou shouldest be considerate of thy brother's talents, behold, what a labor for my gods and ministering angels. To show thee that no two men see anything alike I created, to make thee cautious, that because thou canst not hear me, thou shalt not judge thy brother who can hear me, to induce thee thus and thus without interfering with thy liberty, to make thee watchful, to learn by thy own inspiration from me, to make thee skeptical to others' versions of my words, and yet make thee try to discover my words and my person of thine own self, to see me and to hear me. Now behold, in the olden times, only hear. Now behold, in the olden times, only here and there one in all the world could be made to comprehend me. Read it again. Now behold, in the olden times, only here and there one in all the world could be made to comprehend me, as thou mayest say to the beast in the field, or to the dog, the most knowing of animals, Jehovah, Jehovah, and they will not hear thee understandingly. So it was with nearly all the world in the olden time. Today I have quickened many. That's good. I like this. Today I have quickened many. Tomorrow the whole of the people in all the world shall know me. This is the progress I created possible unto thee. This road shalt thou travel. This is amazing. Verse 16. Thou hast blockaded the way against me on every side. Thou hast put me away and said, natural law, moral law, divine law, instinct, reflection, intuition, second sight. I say unto thee, I have abolished all these things. I will have them no more forever. I have no laws. I do by virtue of my own presence. I am not far away. Behold, I am with thee. I gave no instinct to any creature under the sun, but my presence, they do what they do. Let me read that again. I am not far away. Behold, I am with thee. I gave no instinct to any creature under the sun. By my presence, they do what they do. That just says something right there, y'all. I give no tuition by intuition. That might be our title. I give no tuition by intuition. I am the cause to all and for all. I am the most easily understood of all things. My hand is ready to whomsoever will reach forth unto me. My voice is ready and clear to whomsoever will turn away from all other things and away from philosophies and ambiguous words, serving me in good works. My light is present and answereth unto all who follow their all highest knowledge. That is good. Okay, y'all, next chapter, chapter 11 on page 706. And I think we read this because I got it highlighted, the whole thing. Maybe I think this might be one of the ones, maybe Anita or somebody told me to read ahead, asked me to read it. Angela, shalom, shalom, sis. Okay, look, okay, chapter 11. Seek not to force my gospels and entice followers unto this or that says Jehovah. Okay, I remember reading this because we was talking about how Christianity is kind of almost like forcing people, and we're going to take the gospel to all four corners of the world, right? Okay, and after force, seek not to force. After force is number one, and one at the bottom is spread. Okay. Seek not to force my gospels and entice followers unto this or that, says Jehovah. Neither go about preaching, saying, thus says Jehovah. Let all men hear me in their own way. No man shall follow another. I will have no sect, SECT, sect. I will have no sect. I will have no creed. I am not exclusive, but I am with all my living creatures. To those who choose me, practicing their all highest light, I am a shield and fortification against all darkness and against all evil and contention. Thou shalt not establish me by man's laws, nor by the government of man, saith Jehovah, nor established by man's laws or government any book or revelation, saying, behold, this is Jehovah's book. To keep man from interfering with man, this hath been a great labor. To teach man to comprehend liberty, especially as to thought and as to knowledge, this hath been a great labor. For he falleth easily under the inspiration of his surroundings, and falleth under the teachings and persuasions of his brother, because he cometh from my hand into the world in innocence, a helpless infant. And his elder brothers take advantage of his innocence and teach him their own knowledge instead of directing him to me. I remember this. I forget what it was, but somebody told me, hey, go to this chapter, this lines up. I forget who it was, but I definitely remember this because I started giving like little examples and stuff. This is good. Let me highlight this though. I just did the highlight going down the chapter and one of the verses, but the whole thing. Okay. Let me go back to 12. No, 11. Listen. To keep man from interfering with man, this hath been a great labor. To teach man to comprehend liberty, especially as to thought and as to knowledge, this hath been a great labor. For he falleth easily under the inspiration of his surroundings, and falleth under the teachings and persuasions of his brother, because he cometh from my hand into the world in innocence, a helpless infant. And his elder brothers take advantage of his innocence and teach him their own knowledge instead of directing him to me. And his elder brothers were in darkness themselves, and their elder brothers before them. And I said unto man, be free, learn to know liberty, think for thyself, study thy creator in all things and in thyself in particular. This is gonna be our title. I can't fit all of that, but I'm gonna have to do a acronymed version of this verse. I said unto man, be free, learn to know liberty, think for thyself, study thy creator in all things and in thyself in particular. Turn thou away from thy elder brothers, come thou to the all highest fountain. Be not confounded with abstruse reasonings, cut all things short, godlike. Learn thou of the Creator and his creations, there is nothing more. Thou art one of the seeds of Jehovah, and wert planted by his hand. Be thou free from all the world. Next chapter, chapter 12, on page 706, or chapter XII in Roman numerals. Man only of all my created creations, created I not perfect in this order, said Jehovah, the most devoid of knowledge and the most helpless of animals, created I man. I gave not to the bird to improve her feathers, nor yet to improve her species, nor gave I her a book as to the manner of building her nest, nor as to her behavior with other birds. Nor said I to the hare, Hare, like the rabbit, nor said I to the hare, beware of foxes, Or go thou teach thy young to depend on their fleetness. And yet both birds and beasts move by my inspiration perfectly in the order I made them. The bird doeth her work, and the hare fleeth from the ox. I'm sorry, not the ox, the fox. I'll read the whole verse again. And yet both, yeah, ain't nobody running from an ox. I mean, they ain't that fast. And yet both birds and beasts move by my inspiration perfectly in the order I made them. The bird doeth her work, and the hare fleeth from the fox. But the child of man will put its finger in the serpent's mouth, and the child will also eat any deadly poison. And think about foods too, because some of the foods is considered part of this any deadly poison, right? Look, but the child of man will put its finger in a serpent's mouth, and the child will also eat any deadly poison. Thus differently created I man from all other things on earth, but I gave him the foundation whereon he might attain to perfection in all the attributes of my other living creatures. And I said to man, be thou observant of what thou shalt eat and drink, and where thou shalt dwell by day and sleep by night. For all things shall write upon thy soul the character and the kind whereof they are made. That is beautiful the way that was just said. Let me read that again. Hold on. You remember how yesterday when we was talking about different people, the different models you have, and what you see is like what you become. And some of us need to change our models, right? Because us coming into the world having that could have been day before yesterday. Us coming into the world as a blank slate and us observing things. Think about children. Whatever they see, they mimicking. Babies, if mama's always in the kitchen cooking, the baby acting like she cooking. Or if she see mom nursing a new baby, she gonna get her baby doll and start nursing the baby. Everything that they see, they mimic and they do. And that's literally how they grow and build their life. So we should be good examples to our children and those around us, knowing that, right? Because everything they take in, they're observing, and it's going to be their choice to go one way or the other. But depending on the quantity of what they see, like if they get more good than bad and they're reproducing, mimicking what they see, then their life is bent in that direction, and vice versa, right? Jamia, shalom, sis. Listen, verse 8. No, let me go back to 7. Thus differently created I man from all other things on earth, but I gave him the foundation whereupon he might attain to perfection in all the attributes of my other living creatures. And I said to man, be thou observant of what thou shalt eat and drink, and where thou shalt dwell by day and sleep by night. For all things shall write upon thy soul the character and kind whereof they are made. If thou wilt be gentle like a lamb, and non-resistant and docile, so thou mayest obtain great knowledge. Feed thou upon the herbs and fruits and cereals. I remember reading this. Listen, right? Because me to make you angry, you got a dirty liver, you're gonna be angry. Listen, here here is the and we all learning, right? Because I used to be a meat eater. I really did. Now I think about it sometime and I'm like, with all that I understand now, I'm like, how could you ever have done that? Like, I look at chicken and I feel some type of way now, especially when it's like a piece of, hey, you know how sometimes you fry chicken and it's like if you don't pluck out, well, you ain't plucking the feathers, but sometimes we just buying it from the store now, and you see they done left some feathers up there. Some people will pluck them off, some people don't care, they just throw it right in there. But once after it's fried and you still got that hair sticking out, you just think about like a human leg, like that was a walking, living thing, and you didn't even show it no respect and common courtesy just to pluck all the hair off, right? And it's like some people don't care, they just eat. I'm just like, ugh. Listen, here's what you need to do if you want to practice. If you angry all the time, you just mad for no reason, you wake up mad, you really probably you need to do a liver, you need to do a whole body detox, right? You probably got parasites and all kinds of stuff controlling you from your gut, right? That's why you can't get control. You got to cleanse yourself. Listen, this is the type of diet you should have. It should be plant-based. Listen. And this can be tested. Tested. I've tested it, and I can tell you of a certain that this is true. This works. If thou will be gentle like a lamb and non-resistant and docile, so thou mayest obtain great knowledge, feed thou upon herbs and fruits and cereals, and thy blood shall be pure and cool, and charged with food for thy spirit, and peace and love. But if thou wilt be ferocious like a carnivorous beast, then thou shalt feed upon flesh and fish, and thy blood shall be hot, and thy spirit shall be stirred with passion and anger and contention and tattling and war and jealousy and love of vengeance. For whatsoever thou chargest, for whatsoever thou chargest thy blood with shall be charged upon thy spirit. Yes, thank you for that. Set apart. Cereal is grain. Just for those who didn't know. Use a different highlighter. For whatsoever thou chargest thy blood with shall be charged upon thy soul. Angela said, "You right, sis. I'm going to detox. I'm going to grab some bittersweet from Selah and get right in diet." Go ahead. You can do it, sis. Let us know how it's going. I'm telling you, it works. And them bitters from Selah ain't no joke. They work super quick. Because thou canst not feed on fish nor flesh, but through destruction unto death, even so destruction unto death shall come upon thy soul. That's good. He said you can't even partake in those things that's going to tear your soul and your body up unless you're doing that to those things. And now today we're not necessarily the ones that have to go commit the act of murder and slaughter, right, and actually draining out the blood and eating the blood. We're not the ones committing that, but whatever has been done to that and we partake of it is what we're imprinting on our soul. So what we do, like what goes around comes around, right? If you got to kill something to eat it, that's what's going to be imprinted upon your soul, and that's literally what's going to start happening to you. Listen, I'll go back to 13 again. For what so let me just go back. Listen, let me go back to 9 again. For all things shall write upon thy soul the character and kind whereof they are made. So whatever this is made of, that's what's going to be written on your soul. Something I like that Yaki said. If you don't know who Yaki is, he's also a master herbalist. He said, and he's not the only one, but he's like the first one that came to memory. He said food is like information, right? And so whatever information you're taking into your body or your computer, that's what it's going to produce, right? For all things shall write upon thy soul the character and kind whereof they are made, right? The same thing with not just what goes in our mouth, into our gut, but what goes into our ear and our eyes, that goes directly to our soul. What goes through here is assimilated through the body, and then it imprints itself on our soul, right? Who you hang out with is normally who you start acting like, who you start becoming. All of this information, you're taking it and you're writing it on your blank slate, or you're adding it already to the information, and it's going to merge like attracts like. For all things shall write upon thy soul the character and kind whereof they are made. If thou wilt be gentle like a lamb and non-resistant and docile, so thou mayest obtain great knowledge, feed thou upon herbs and fruits and cereals, or cereals is grains, like Iman said. And thy blood shall be pure and cool, and charged with food for thy spirit, in peace and love. But if thou wilt be ferocious, like a carnivorous beast, then thou shalt feed upon flesh and fish, and thy blood shall be hot, and thy spirit shall be stirred with passion and anger, and contention and tattling, and war and jealousy, and love of vengeance. For whatsoever thou chargest thy blood with shall be charged upon thy spirit, because thou canst not feed on fish nor flesh, but through destruction unto death, even so destruction unto death shall come upon thy soul. Which is why people dying from all these diseases and stuff, right? Yo. Nazarene faith is grand rising. Verse 15, page 706, chapter 12. From thine own blood shall thy spirit be inspired, even according to what thy blood containeth. Life and death is in the blood. That's what that means something different to me now. Listen, hold up. Wow. Verse 13. For whatsoever thou chargest thy blood with shall be charged upon thy spirit, because thou canst not feed on fish nor flesh, but through destruction unto death, even so destruction unto death shall come upon thy soul. From thine own blood shall thy spirit be inspired, even according to what thy blood containeth. As through corpore, thy corporal part is nurtured, and so through as through corporal, or the flesh, right, this realm, as through corporal thy corporal part is nurtured, so through the gaseous atmospherian part is thy spirit nurtured. Woman said, behold, I kill not any lamb nor bird nor fish. Others kill them, but I eat them. To kill my lambs and birds, and whatsoever I created alive, is a simple act, saith Jehovah. Let no man waste much space because of destructions. It is the contamination of the blood of man by carnivorous food, whereupon thou shalt ponder. He said, listen, that ain't got nothing to do with the price of tea in China. I don't care if you killed my living creation or you just ate what somebody else killed. You thinking about the wrong thing. You ain't supposed to be worried about that. He said, think about the outcome from eating my living things, right? Verse 17. Woman said, behold, I kill not any lamb, nor bird, nor fish. Others kill them, but I eat them. To kill my lambs and birds, and whatsoever I created alive is a simple act, saith Jehovah. Let no man waste much speech because of such destructions. It is the contamination of the blood of man by carnivorous food, whereon thou shalt ponder. Like unto like created I all the living. Whosoever maketh himself carnivorous cannot escape conflict and contention within his own members, soul and body. Until the earth was circumscribed, I gave man carnivorous food. Today I make it poison to him. To turn, I'm sorry, and man shall turn away from it. And the smell, I know, right? Listen, let me go back up. Verse 20. Like unto like created I all the living. Whosoever maketh himself carnivorous cannot escape conflict and contention within his own members, soul and body. Until the earth was circumscribed, I gave man carnivorous food. Today I make it poison to him, and man shall turn away from it, and the smell of it shall sicken him, and the sight of blood shall fill him with horror. I can truly say that that's the point where I am at today. Like, I be telling y'all everything. That whole, like, I was like, y'all, something has like clicked over in me. Like the smell, what used to smell good, the flame broilers of Burger King driving down the street. I have to hold my breath. Now I just reroute my route through home, the places where I know that the air is going to be filled with roasting flesh. I just find another route to go, even if it's the long way home, because I can't. It literally makes me want to puke. And and some people, like I said before, I used to think people was doing too much, right? I'm like, it ain't even that serious. You doing the most, right? Until my whole system completely clicked over. And I've been plant-based like about almost 10 years, right? So it's like, oh my goodness, yeah, listen. Verse 21, page 707. Until the earth was circumscribed, I gave man carnivorous food. Today I make it poison to him, and man shall turn away from it, and the smell of it shall sicken him, and the sight of blood shall fill him with horror. The butcher shall be ashamed of his avocation. His neighbors shall say to him, Thou stinkest of blood. Because thou gave us flesh, we also drank to drunkenness. We also drank to drunkenness. Because thou gave us flesh, we also did smoke and take narcotics. Because thou gave us flesh, we are rotted with catarrh and wasted in the lungs. Because we feasted on flesh, Jehovah answered us in corruptible flesh. Lo, we stink from the sole of our feet to the crown of our heads. Oh my gosh, I ain't even read this part. This is what I was describing with all my senses. I was like, yo, humans stink. Those who eat meat, I'm telling you, when you get to this point, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. It's almost like you can smell what's going on inside of their intestines. It is like horrifying. It's like, oh my God. And I've learned now just to be a little bit more act like I got some sense, and if I see people coming, I'll automatically socially distance myself. Like, you ain't got to give me the rules. You're older. I literally can smell you coming, and they will be clean as to like showering everything, but I don't know, your senses just heighten once you cleanse yourself out. Your senses heighten, and then you can smell everything, right? And it's like, sis, you got straight up out the bed, didn't you? And it smell like you. No, let me keep going. Let me keep going. Okay. Verse 21. Let me go back up. This is good. And we're on page 707. Until the earth was circumscribed, I gave man carnivorous food. Today I make it poison to him, and man shall turn away from it, and the smell of it shall sicken him, and the sight of blood shall fill him with horror. The butcher shall be ashamed of his avocation. His neighbors shall say to him, Thou stinkest of blood. Because thou gavest us flesh, we also drank to drunkenness. Because thou gavest us flesh, we also did smoke and take narcotics. Because thou gave us flesh, we are rotten with catarrh and wasted in the lungs. Remember, all this stuff, if you're eating death, you're going to do nothing but continue to add death to you. And it's one thing is going to begin to affect another, right? Eating meat will send you off into look. We're going to look, let's just say this. We're going to say meat is the gateway drug. Listen, because thou gavest us flesh, we also drank to drunkenness. Because thou gavest us flesh, we also did smoke and take narcotics. Because thou gavest us flesh, we are rotted with catarrh and wasted in the lungs. Because we feasted on flesh, Jehovah answered us in corruptible flesh. Lo, we stink from the sole of our feet to the crown of our heads. And our offspring are born into the world so helpless and corrupt that half of them die in infancy. Jehovah said, When I commanded the nations of the earth to peace, behold, I raised my hand above the carnivorous head. As there was a time when I created every animal perfect in its order, so also shall such a time come unto man. And now is the dawn thereof. Hence I named it Cosmon. As the spider learneth to build her net without a book, and the bees to dwell in a queendom in peace and industry without books and written laws and instructions as to how to do this and that, even so now is a new birth to the generations of my people. By my direct inspiration upon them, they shall learn to do all things perfect in the order of man for which I created him. I'm so glad to be alive at the time I'm alive now. Listen, I can attest to this. I can attest to this, right? Not saying that I hear all the time perfectly, and we should hear all the time perfectly, but coming out of darkness into light, like developing your senses, like, and that literally began when I made the choice to come outside of the four walls of the church, because sitting inside of it was like constant bombardment of other man's thoughts. I'm like, Father, if I'm gonna hear from you, I'm gonna have to learn how to do it outside of these walls, right? Because I knew I had certain gifts, what we would call gifts, because I didn't really understand how the Father created us and the spirit that we have. I was like, if I'm going to learn how to do this right, because what I found myself doing, yes, thank you. We're on page 707, chapter 12, or chapter XII, and we all the way at verse, we at 35, but we're going to go back up. We're going to go back up to like verse 31. Let me do this so I finish saying what I'm saying. So Tabitha said this was the reason Sethanes, or some people say it's Sethantes. I was saying Sethanes. I guess it's Sethantes. Okay, this was the reason Sethantes angels was unable to feed the newborn spirits, because because the spirits were meat eaters. I'm so excited about starting this all over again, y'all. Now getting a little bit of understanding, thinking through, looking at life, observing things, running some of what I learned in here, like running it through, testing different things. I'm so excited to start reading this again. Listen. So what was I saying? Oh, what I had begun to notice, right? Because I began to notice different things like the prophetic. I've always been drawn like to the prophetic, because it's all to me. Like, how do you get information from, like, what is it? Is it like coming from out within? Are you hearing this on the inside? And so me looking at that, comparing to what I was personally experiencing, since I could remember from the time I was a little girl, it's like, okay, so what is this? Is this called, like, am I hearing, is it just me thinking on the inside of me? Or so y'all say y'all get like these downloads or whatever, information pouring into you, and you just speaking it, like all these things. It's really been interesting to me. So what I found myself doing, because at that time in my understanding, I'm like, oh, okay, so prophets do that. Maybe that's okay. So I would just do this. So I would watch prophets and I would begin to try to mimic them, but it always felt like so inauthentic. Like, I would never like get out in front of anybody to do that, and do what I was like trying to figure out. But I'm just like, it just some about that just like don't feel right. And because you got some teachers and they show you how to, like, even pastors, something like, they teach you how to hoop and holler. Prophets, you must do this, you must dress this way, and you got to do this, because there needs to be this air of secrecy about you where people don't really know, and they need to, like, it's just all this stuff that I was looking at, and I was just like, I'm looking at different people. I'm like, oh, I can tell who you learned your stuff from, because all y'all doing that the same. And that's when I start reading over about the what the Bible called. The Bible calls it the the guild of prophets. So I start referring to people I didn't. I in my head, and sometimes you would hear me say it. I'm like, oh, that's the guild of prophets, like the school of prophecy, the school of prophets, or whatever. And that was different to me from what I was seeing from the individual people who wasn't necessarily calling them prophets. Other people were calling them prophets, but it seemed like they get direct inspiration from the Father, to whereas the guild of prophets or the school of prophets, not saying that like the school is not needed. I mean, I guess you can go through some. I would think the school of prophets should be, let's look at some of these shenaniganizers out here and what they doing, right? And what they call it, what they are calling prophecy is. But I think if there's a school of prophets, it should be developing you not to run with this clique group of people and do things a certain way to be called a prophet or be recognized as a prophet. It should be it should be just like everything else should be directing you back to the Father, right? Not telling you what to do, but teaching you how to listen to the Father, to be inspired directly by Him on what you should do for your life individually and how that looks for you today. Everybody should be doing that individually applying that wisdom, which will be their highest wisdom, and applying that to their life. Like it may be good for some people, like your highest light could, let's just use clothes, right? My highest light could be um I can wear jeans, right? Your highest light might be, I don't know, you could have been, let me make sure I'm saying this the right way. Okay, then for me, I could probably wear jeans, right? I may not have all these big extra curves and stuff others may have. You may not, you could probably wear some, but the kind they develop for you, they just look all frumpy. So the jeans wouldn't be cute for you, right? And even if you did, they'd be skin tight and everybody see everything that you got that's supposed to be covered, right? So that might not be such a wise choice for you. And some people like make laws. Women can't wear pants ever, altogether. And it's like you're trying to take this one and apply it to everybody. And it shouldn't be. It should be individualized, right? You should use your own wisdom. If I got a big old booty, big old hips and thighs and stuff, yeah, I look cute, but that might just be for me and my man. And for what we do, going outside, I don't want to be drawing everybody else to me. So maybe I'll wear this for my husband, my spouse, whatever. And when I go out, I'll wear something a little more um modest, so to speak, right? But nobody should be, sometimes like raising shit, sometimes you do just have to tell them, give them guidance, okay? But we should tell them why, not just do this because I said so. But let me explain to you why. Sometimes you could do this and sometimes it might not be so wise to do this, and here's why. Consider all things. And I think that's the part where religion, it strips away, religion strips away your individuality. It strips away your ability to think and judge and comprehend things for yourself. And you decide to make a choice based on what you observed, right? That's my biggest quarrel with religion. It's like they're trying to be God for you. And this is what Christians are supposed to do, right? Let somebody go against the grain just a little bit. You done fell into a cult. Everybody stay away from Pam. She didn't got off. She started out good, but she didn't got it. She is out there. She is like out to sea, right? And I'm like, what? I simply said, shouldn't we be worshiping the creator and not Jesus? But I'm the foolish one, and I'm asking logical questions. Look, let me go back. Page 707, verse 30. We go to 30. Jehovah said, when I commanded the nations of the earth to peace, behold, I raised my hand above the carnivorous head. And there was a time when as there was a time when I created every animal perfect in its order, so also such a time come unto man. And now, excuse me, and now is the dawn thereof. Hence I named it Cosmon, as the spider learneth to build her net without a book, and the bees to dwell in a queendom in peace and industry without books and written laws and instructions as to how to do this and that. Even so, now is a new birth to the generations of my people. By my direct inspiration upon them, they shall learn to do all things perfect in the order of man for which I created him. Man shall know how to do things easily and without the long labor of books and without showing or explanations. Or we would call that, or I would call that, those are like instant spiritual downloads where, oh, I know what to do. And that happens. A lot of us have experienced that, right? I just saw your comment, Jamia. Look, right? She said, look, don't forget wearing pants puts a Jezebel spirit on it. Oh, I watch my words. I would say, oh, they kills me with that one. But I don't want to say kills me, but they press my buttons with that, right? And then they be like, well, if you feel some type of way, only hit dogs holler. I'm like, I'm about to hit you. Look, we about to see who the dog. Listen. And now is the dawn thereof. Hence I named it Cosmon. Look, y'all, they be so serious too. That whole That whole boy, that whole Jezebel topic is it's a we could spend a whole lot of time there, right? Because when people can't, when they look, they tend to do that to us women, right? When we fall out of what they consider to be out of the lines of ranks, automatically give them up to Satan. Sis, it's the Jezebel and got hold of her, right? And they get mad, especially if you married and the husband won't say that. Ahab and got a hold of him. Ahab and Jezebel all over. Stay away from them. I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna gracefully bow out of here before I find myself doing something I'm gonna regret. Not because I might go to jail, but because I'm gonna have to deal with my creator on this. And I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna take the high road on this. Oh, I don't want to, but Father help me. That's what I'm coming out of this. Listen. What? But then it's so but then it's okay to put pants on under your skirt. 18,000 degrees outside. Sis bent over, thinks she prays to God. No, sis is about to pass out. Somebody stripped them clothes off her out here looking like Pilgrim's Progress. Ooh, listen, let me tell y'all something. I've come to love my hair wraps, but as y'all can see, I do not wear them all the time. Like my look, it is something I understood too, right? And the reason my reason for wearing my headdress is completely different from what others wear theirs, right? And so I'm like, okay, but for short purposes here, I play too much Trina. I probably do. You might be right. Listen, it's probably why I always got in trouble in school. But not always, but I don't know. I probably really do. I probably really do. Because I was, even in boot camp, I was like, I probably do play too much, right? Well, I was always getting in trouble for laughing. Drop James. Well, my last name was James back then. But listen, I know the creator's liberty is absolutely, it's so freeing. And it's just like, what it's like once we get a what here's what it is, once we get the revelation of the creator's liberty really on the inside of us, deep down in our shana, we laugh at the foolishness no matter what people are saying. It don't really bother us like it used to before we really got clear sight and clear vision of what the father was saying. Like, just because we're women, what does that mean, right? We could sit and laugh at the foolishness now, and not miss a beat and keep on going while they're getting pissed. Stay away from them. She's amassing an army of Jezebel spirits. They'd be going off. We're just like, what? Or look, we're going to Hawaii. Listen, look at the creator's beauty and all of this stuff, right? So it's like, distance yourself from people like that. I'm gonna be like, if you want to really piss them off, I'm gonna pray for you. Hit them with what they do. I mean, I ain't say be petty, but I find myself doing that sometimes. I ain't perfect. I'm developing here in the Cosmon era. I'm just saying. I try not to be disrespectful. I like to hold my tongue. If at all, I can break the ice with humor, comedy, or something, crack a joke. But I found out not a lot of people. Well, a lot of people do, but some people don't. They don't really understand sarcasm, or they don't understand the dynamics of what should have been a joke. And I'm just like, nah, like I can't play with everybody. Right. So I just y'all know how like Homer back into the bush. I'm like, I just slowly back out. All right, look, what time we? I'm already at an hour. I need to be going back to sleep. Okay, listen. But I really do want to read one more chapter. We at Monday too, and we ain't gonna be here tomorrow. So we're gonna finish reading this chapter. We're gonna read chapter 13. We're gonna cut it short. All right, listen. I'll go back to verse 31, page 707, verse 31. No, 30. Jehovah said, when I command the nations of the earth to peace, behold, I raise my hand above the carnivorous head. As there was a time when I created every animal perfect in its order, so also shall such a time come unto man. And now is the dawn thereof. Hence I named it Cosmon. As the spider learneth to build her nest without a book, and the bees to dwell in a queendom in peace and industry without books and written laws and instructions as how to do this and that, Even so, now is a new birth to the generations of my people. By my direct inspiration upon them shall they learn to do all things perfect in the order of man for which I created him. Man shall know how to do things easily and without the long labor of books and without showing or explanations. As of old, I commanded thee, and to have that done for real, you have to you can literally create a cycle, not cycle, I guess you can, kind of say that. But in order, I see it now, because there's a science to everything that the creator does, right? Man shall know how to do things easily and without the long labor of books and without showing or explanations. That lets me know when somebody can do that, that means you are highly developed spiritually, right? And if you walk in that, if you're, imagine one or two generations walking in just that. The children being born will be bent to that. They will come out from the womb. Remember, because the generations build based on previous generations, the surroundings, the teachings, and knowledge. They're going to come out like what we would consider to, in a few generations, the children that come out, um, they're going to be what we consider like supernatural from the birth. Like all of y'all, it's like some people say, oh, you were old, so you've been here before. Like this child just know, like they coming out smarter and smarter, right? Listen, by seeing, you can observe and see this, and you can tell without a lot of time, if you just observe people for long enough, even if you don't necessarily hear them talk, if you're on a path to growth and learning and understanding and actually observing things, you can observe people who are highly uh maybe I can say skilled spiritually, or develop their they develop their spiritual side, their spiritual senses a lot. You can tell that by observation. Just like you can tell somebody who claims to be spiritual, be preaching, teaching, whatever it is, just by observing them, what they say, even just how they teach sometimes, you can tell that they don't have a clue. They don't have the first clue. Like you are like undergrade one. Like you are completely dumb as to spiritual things. Like you really don't understand what you're talking about, do you? You really don't. Okay. But everybody has their learning curve, and they got to grow. We start somewhere, right? Man shall know how to do things easily and without the long labor of books and without showing or explanations. As of old, I commanded thee to have dominion over every living thing I created. So now I command thee to take the earth and the waters of the earth and the air above the earth into thy dominion also. And thou shalt rule over them and drive away the heat and bring the cold, to drive away the cold and bring the heat as thou wilt, for the benefit of all the living. You know what this just said? Remember that the video we did? Remember, hold on. Remember, I think this was when everybody, it really started being a big thing, like on social media. Everybody was talking about the age is changing, going to like the age of Aquarius and stuff. And then remember that I think it was December of 2021. What? No, couldn't know, because it was like recently. Maybe it was like December of 2020. Remember that? And if it's other races here, this is not racist, but if you go back and Google it, I did. You can Google it, YouTube it, whatever. It was a bunch of black people talking about the shift of something with the moon just right or whatever, and all the black people was gonna get their superpowers, right? I what one of those a couple videos I use, and I put black people getting their superpowers or something like that, and those videos got a lot of views because a lot of people, I'm like, people are like really looking for this. I'm like, they believe in this, and low key, for real, I'm like, well, we're gonna test this thing and see. So I done called all my siblings. I'm like, y'all been hearing about this? They're like, yeah, we don't know. Well, I don't know if we could. I don't know what superpower. I don't know what superpower I'm gonna get. Like, we playing around being fun with it. But low key, for real though, I woke up, went outside just to see if I could lift my car. I was like, no, Bleisha, didn't work. Can you do something different? Listen, no, seriously. But what what I understand now, like people, there was a shift, there was a changing, but not like what people were thinking. and like making fun of. And some people was like, this is garbage. No, there really was. I could feel it. There was a changing, a shift of something, but it was more so on the spiritual side than it was like the physical side, right? Because you just gotta, you can't jump from one thing and just, you can't be a baby and be driving a car. There is still a process that happens, and it was another notch over, a shifting, a change, but it was more spiritual, us becoming more spiritually aware, understanding that there are some things that we can develop and that we can do, even to where we can control the weather, things like this. Look, I'm sorry, Mariah Shalom, I was reading your comment, hold on. Tickle sarcasm is your middle name. Look, Mariah said, this is what I'm going through. I've been trying to learn languages for a while now, but can never get through the manual process of it. I prayed for a better way for me to stick with it. This is why I've literally been trying to figure out ways I can learn that benefits me. My attention span is pretty short and I lose interest in a few days, so it's hard to keep consistent at one thing. Sis, I know you. Sometimes, listen, me doing this, it wasn't like just a vow to the creator. I needed to find something to help keep me consistent, because when I was active duty military, it's like they pretty much told you what to do every day. You just like knew what to do. But when I got out, it's like, oh my gosh, freedom from massa. I'm gonna do whatever I want to do, right? But I was so used to being into the habit of getting up early, doing things, and like literally, like they say, military sometimes military do more before 7 a.m. than what most of the world will do all day long. Some people all week. That is true. And I learned to love that discipline and I craved it, right? It was, I mean, it's not bad that you have a teacher or a taskmaster to help you develop a discipline that you wouldn't necessarily do on your own. That way, when you actually no longer under the taskmaster's hand or in his house or in your parents' house, you get out there and get feels like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till I get my own house because I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this and I'm not gonna do this, right? You do that, for you rebel for a short period of time, and then you find yourself craving the discipline, and you begin to realize what the discipline actually did for you to help you be productive. So I was like, I need to hook myself to a discipline, make sure I ain't sleeping all day and just doing all this, because I was having more children. It's like, man, I need to put something in place and something to make sure that, because like when you break away from the four walls of the church, even though I didn't say screw the Bible altogether, because some people's like, I'm sick of the crap, I'm moving away from the church, but they move away from the church and move away from the Father, everything all at once. And I understand it now. I understand why it happens, right? But I did that, but I was conscious of that while I was doing that, because I was already talking to the Father even before I, was like going it, like it was just like a part of me, like hearing his voice. So it's like when I walked away from the church, I wasn't walking away from him. I was walking away from the foolishness that was tainting and screwing with the natural order of things in me spiritually that I had come accustomed to. Like it was hard for me to hear like clear. I'm just like, something is wrong about this, right? So when I moved away from the church, I actually got closer to the Father, to where some people tell you, don't you do that, you're gonna find yourself out here backsliding into the club and all this stuff, and you ain't gonna hear from the Father. We're gonna have to pray for your soul from being damned in the hell, like all this crap. I'm like, that is not true. I mean, it may be true for some people, and it is, right? It does happen, right? But it was something that I had developed. I had been developing over the years, so where I didn't fall into that category of people, because I was there, and by me becoming, by my act to become consistent in church and actually go and try and get involved with the ministry and help do things and just be a part of this whole networking thing and doing something for the Father, I found myself getting further away from him. And then it's like you try to put on a show to make everything look like it's okay. And it's just like, I ain't heard nothing. I ain't had a dream. I'm just like, and it seemed like the more I'm trying to fit in here and do this, what the church say do, you're supposed to act like to do this, come to church 14 times a week in a 7-day week. I'm like, what? Oh, forget about that. You come here, you serve God first, and you do this for your husband and children after this, but give God your time first. But you telling me to do this is tearing my home up. I'm like, I don't think that's right. And if this serving God like this causes my personal life to be all screwed up, I don't want none of that. And I would deal with, I'm just gonna have to face the creator's music on this one, because consciously inside of me, this feels wrong, right? Which is why you see like a lot of churches, pastors, you get the preachers' kids out there, because they devote themselves so much to the work, and while they're devoting themselves to the work, they find themselves away from the Father in the midst of the work, right? And it's sad. The homes are torn up. When the family is the first government. That's what the creator. Those are the first. Those are first things first. If you find this getting screwed up, step away from here, right? The balance is off, because you keep doing this. It's just gonna, it's just, it's just not gonna be right. Key, you done fell asleep. Well, sis, welcome back. Look, 'cause I'm still not done with chapter 12. But let me go back to this. Hold on. Calls coming through. Look, I'm supposed to be asleep. Y'all calling me. Y'all don't even know I'm on vacation. Look, hold on. Let's go back. I'm almost done, y'all. Page 707, verse 35. Man shall know how to do things easily and without the long labor of books and without showing or explanations. As of old, I commanded thee to have dominion over every living thing I created. So now I commanded thee to take the earth and the waters of the earth and the air above the earth into thy dominion also, and thou shalt rule over them, and drive away the heat and bring the cold, to drive away the cold and bring the heat, as thou wilt, for the benefit of all the living, to accomplish which thou shalt know, first of all, adapt thyself to thy Creator according, excuse me, to accomplish which thou shalt now, first of all, adapt thyself to thy Creator according to my highest light upon thee, not trying to do what I didn't taught them to do, because they done went through some cycles you haven't been through yet. So according to your highest light within you of me, get yourself in line with that, right? He said, this is where we can begin. Don't try to do like what they doing, right? Because your path is not the same as theirs, right? Think about yourself, observe yourself, right? When you do that, you get in line with me, we can move. Look. To accomplish which, verse 38, page 707, to accomplish which thou shalt now, first of all, adapt thyself to thy Creator according to my highest light upon thee, to put away thine own inharmony in thy blood and flesh and in thy soul, opening the way for my inspiration to come direct to thee, that thou mayest be one with me. Next chapter, chapter 13, is going to be our last chapter for today, y'all. Man saith, it's chapter XIII, chapter 13, page 707. Man saith, if I cannot add one jot or tittle to my corporal body, and it is all built up by Jehovah, then indeed it is his. Neither am I accountable whether it be well made or well preserved. And if I cannot make one new thought or idea, then are all my thoughts and ideas Jehovah's, given to me by inspiration, either directly by Jehovah or by his creations. And at the beginning of the sentence, and if I cannot make one new thought nor idea, then after then is reference number 2, and 2 at the bottom says, indeed. You can't hear me? Close it and come back in. Somebody type to Trina on Facebook, close it and come back in. Oh, wait, no. A call came through. It is me. I just thought about it. Hold on. I'm gonna close it and I'm gonna come right back. Man, my videos on Facebook, they all split up. Hold on. I'm sorry. I just thought about that. When a call comes through, it cuts my sound off for everybody. I just figured that out. Live. Let's go back. Okay. All right. Y'all should be able to hear me now. Okay. I'm going to just keep going. Okay. Verse 38. To accomplish which thou shalt now, first of all, adapt thyself to thy Creator according to my highest light upon thee, to put away thy own inharmony in blood and flesh and in thy soul, opening the way for my inspiration to come direct to thee, that thou mayest be one with me. I went back. Chapter 13. Man saith, if I cannot add one jot or tittle to my corporal body, and it is all built up by Jehovah, then indeed it is his. Neither am I accountable whether it be made well or well preserved. And if I cannot make one new thought nor idea, then are all my thoughts and ideas Jehovah's, given to me by inspiration, either directly by Jehovah or by his creations. Neither then am I accountable for my thoughts nor behavior, whether they be good or bad. And after accountable for my thoughts, after thoughts is reference number 3, and 3 says, nor ideas. Okay, so I read verse 4 again, page 707. Neither then am I accountable for my thoughts nor behavior, whether they be good or bad. Verily, then I am not responsible for anything, neither what I am, nor what I do, nor for what becometh of me. I am but an automation. I myself am nothing. Jehovah said, because I gave thee liberty, thou art responsible for all thou art, and for all thou makest thyself, and for all that shall come to thee, and for thy peace and happiness, both in this world and the next. He said, you gotta be a little bit quicker than that. I'm making you responsible for everything. Man, come in here and say, listen, I'm just a blank slate, right? You told us it was blank slates, so everything that I'm receiving, right, it's coming from you all without. So I am responsible for nothing that I do or nothing that comes upon me. He said, back it up. Let me explain to you. Let me teach you how to understand this from my perception, the right way. Jehovah said, let me read it again. Let me just start over. Listen. Man said, if I cannot add one jot or tittle to my corporal body, then it is all built up by Jehovah. Then indeed it is his. Neither am I accountable whether it be made well or well preserved. And if I cannot make one new thought nor idea, then are all my thoughts and ideas Jehovah's, given to me by inspiration, either directly by Jehovah or by his creations. Neither then am I accountable for my thoughts nor behavior, whether they be good or bad. Verily, then I am not responsible for anything, neither what I am, nor what I do, nor for what becometh of me, but I am an automation. I myself am nothing. And that, to me, this seems like what Christianity teaches us. Then the Father comes back in, he said, hold up. Jehovah said, because I gave thee liberty, thou art responsible for all thou art, and for all thou makest thyself, and for all that shall come to thee, and for the peace and happiness, both in this world and in the next. Ray, hi. Danielle, shalom, shalom. I gave thee liberty. Hold on. Verse 6. Liberty I gave to thee as to what thou shouldest eat, and shouldest wear to cover thyself, and where thou shouldest abide. I gave thee liberty to build thy house in thine own way. But behold, such a liberty I gave not to the bird as to her nest, nor to the beaver, nor to the ant, nor to any other living creature. Liberty I gave thee as to whether thou should eat herbs or flesh. But such liberty I gave not to any other living creature. To the sheep and the horse I said, eat ye of the herbs. To the tiger and lion, eat ye of flesh. To thee I gave liberty to make thyself carnivorous, herbivorous, or omnivorous. Whatsoever thou didst put in thy mouth, and it united with thy blood and entered thy body, behold, it was by my labor and by my power it was accomplished. Verily was I thy workman. All that thou didst in the manner was to choose. All that thou didst in the matter was to choose. Thou wert in that respect the master, and I the servant. Oh my gosh, I just thought, listen, what he just said. Hold up. Look, yo, this is amazing. Look, I just thought about this. The Father just said, in this regard, you were the master and I was the servant, right? And so what he just said, he said, listen, I gave you a whole different array of things to observe, pay attention to, and then choose to operate in it. Let me just read it over again. Let me just go back to one. Listen, it just hit me a different way. Man saith, chapter 13, y'all, XIII, page 707. Man said, if I cannot add one jot or tittle to my corporal body, and it is all built up by Jehovah, then indeed it is his. Neither am I accountable whether it be made well or well preserved. And if I cannot make one new thought nor idea, then are all my thoughts and ideas Jehovah's, given to me by inspiration, either directly by Jehovah or by his creations. Neither then am I accountable for my thoughts nor behavior, whether they be good or bad. Verily, then I am not responsible for anything, neither what I am, nor what I do, nor for what becometh of me, but I am as an automation. I myself am nothing. Jehovah said, because I gave thee liberty, thou art responsible for all thou art, and for all thou makest thyself, and for all that shall come to thee, and for thy peace and happiness, both in this world and the next. Liberty I gave thee as to what thou shouldest eat, and shouldest wear to cover thyself, and where thou shouldest abide. I gave thee liberty to build thy house in thine own way. But behold, such liberty I gave not to the bird as to her nest, nor to the beaver, nor to the ant, nor to any other living creature. Liberty I gave thee as to whether thou should eat herbs or flesh. But such liberty I gave not to any other living creature. To the sheep and the horse I said, eat ye of the herbs. To the tiger and lion, eat ye flesh. To thee I gave liberty to make thyself carnivorous, herbivorous, or omnivorous. Whatsoever thou didst put in thy mouth, and it united with thy blood and entered thy body, behold, it was my labor. It was by my labor and by my power. Hold on. I was reading it wrong. Okay. Whatsoever thou didst put in thy mouth, and it united with thy blood and entered thy body, behold, it was by my labor and by my power it was accomplished. Verily, I was thy workman. All that thou didst in the matter was to choose. Thou wert in that respect the master, and I the servant. And behold, I made not the servant responsible for the master's behavior. What? All that thou didst in the matter was to choose. This gonna kill a lot of people's excuses on things. Verily, I was thy workman. All that thou didst in the matter was to choose. Thou wert in that respect the master, and I thy servant. And behold, I made not the servant responsible for the master's behavior. Because thou madest thyself carnivorous, the fault is thine own. I placed before thee the herbivorous animals and the carnivorous animals, and I gave thee eyes to look upon them as to their be. Why don't we ever get that? Yo, first of all, I'm just now being 42 and 43. I'm 43 now. It's just, I'm 43. I got 43 years on the earth. On the earth. And all the things, I'm just now learning to like observe nature the way that I am, to see the differences. Like, this is, I'm reading this, it is mind blowing. It's like a whole new revelation to me. But the information is so simple. It's so easy to understand. Really, this is elementary information that we should be taught literally coming out of the womb for real. How to observe, pay attention to the birds and the bees. What happens as I'm developing a whole new teaching style now for my children. Like, this is amazing. I got so many things running through my head right now. Listen, hold on, let me go back up. Verse 12. Listen, verily was I thy workman. All that thou didst in the matter was to choose. Thou wert in that respect the master, and I thy servant. And behold, I made not the servant responsible for the master's behavior, because thou madest thyself carnivorous. The fault is thy own. I placed before thee the herbivorous animals and the carnivorous animals, and I gave thee eyes to look upon them as to their behavior, whether ferocious and destructive, or peaceful, patient, and docile. And I spake unto thy soul, saying, Look, judge for thyself as to what thou shalt eat. Behold the order of my creations and the result upon the living. Oh my good. I just understood this in a whole nother way. This is amazing. Hold up. Verse 15, and I spake unto thy soul, saying, Look, judge for thyself as to what thou shalt eat. Behold the order of my creation and the result upon the living. After the living is reference number 4. And at the bottom, number 4 says, upon all my, the, in brackets is the, then it's living creatures. Upon all my, the living creatures. And I spake unto thy soul, saying, Look, judge for thyself as to what thou shalt eat. Behold the order of my creations and the result upon the living. Hence, thou art accountable unto thyself and responsible unto all the world for having made thy corporal body as thou hast. This. And I spake unto thy soul, saying, Look, judge for thyself. Look, this is hitting me like this because listen, this is amazing. Here in Hawaii is beautiful, right? But there's a lot of homeless people here, right? And I guess I don't know. It's Here's what I found myself doing yesterday, and I felt so bad because when we were out, like after the helicopter ride, a little bit before, no, it was before the helicopter ride because we went around looking at the statues and different things like that, and I began to notice even with, like walking down the beach, the homeless people, and you can't really tell during the day that they're homeless unless they have like a shopping cart or just a bunch of baggage and stuff with them, and they're dirty and stuff, so. And where we're at is a big tourist spot, but it's still like a lot of homeless people. Now I understand how things happen to different people in life. Sometimes things just, life has a way of taking you through different scenarios and situations to help develop you, right? And a lot of times, if we don't, and I'm not speaking for everybody, I would say if you have, I'm not talking about those people who may be disabled, have mental issues, something going on, and they're on the street. That's another whole thing that needs to be addressed, especially not people faking a funk like it, I need. I got something going on mentally. I'm not talking about people who faking a funk, but I'm talking about people who really have true mental issues and stuff going on where they need help from therapists or that those medical professionals that can help them. Some of them where there's disability, whatever. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about people who have all their functioning capabilities. They can see, they can hear fine, right? What they do, they choose what they want to hear. They pick and choose. Look, they operate in what the father said. Look, you got the ability to choose everything, right? It's like, let's see, no, I want to be homeless. No, I don't really want to be homeless, but I don't want to do this. I don't want to follow those rules. So no, maybe I'm in Hawaii. I'll just live on the beach. It don't get cold. I can sleep anywhere. It's just, a lot of tourists. I always got, them the people I'm talking about, right? The ones that don't want to follow rules, because you're operating in a way with what we're reading right here. Listen, where the father says, you be the judge, right? And he said, you can't hold the master. Hold on, you can't. Hold on. It said, hold on. Let me make sure I say it right. Thou wert, and all that thou did in the matter was to choose, right? Thou wert in that respect the master, and I the servant. And behold, I made not the servant responsible for the master's behavior, right? So I'm looking at some of these people that's on the streets, that's homeless here. And I see it back in Virginia, but where I live, I don't see a lot of this. There are more. Let me tell you why I've seen the most homeless people ever, and it bewildered me on why, especially when the city is called the city of brotherly love, right? When we went to Philly during that hurricane, when Hurricane Flo came, when we went to Philly, where we stayed at, it was like a nice place. The hotel and stuff that we had got, it was the night, it was like the good part. But I began to look at the city. I'm like, why do they call Philly the city of brotherly love when it looks like this? How is this loving your brother when everywhere you go, it's like, what's going on with the city management? Has the mayor rolled through here? You got like trash just, and I know this has its place, but I'm telling you, like my firsthand experience actually witnessing this, observing what's happening with the city and the people. There were homeless people everywhere in Philly. There was no street that we walked on where there were not homeless people. And here's what made me really wonder about this. There were churches everywhere, right? Like, what are y'all doing in this city? The people that should be spiritual and have a higher insight about things. Why is this city running? The city of brotherly love is running rampant. Trash look like the city trash trucks ain't ran in years. Trash cans are running over, people literally walking, throwing trash on the ground. If I had to grade that city, I would grade it imbecile, right? Just by observing, going, looking at what was going on. All the homeless people around everywhere. Homeless people on the church steps sitting. It's like, okay, y'all got to get out of here, get out the doors. And it's like food, people walking past, giving them food, helping them out. But also, some of these homeless people, some of them did look like they had some medical issues, deformities. Some looked like they weren't quite all together here mentally. Um, I can understand that, but then again, I can't, because if you have people, it's a whole lot of different things. But the point is, me bringing up all that, I noticed some of that is here, right? And it's gonna be homeless people. I ain't gonna say everywhere, but y'all get what I'm saying. But the point is, some of these people who are homeless, they're choosing to be homeless because they don't want to get their own self. They don't want to discipline. Like they like Proverbs said, they're children who hate discipline. So because they would rather live in squalor all the days of their life than to put into practice a discipline for their life that will make them better, not just for themselves, but for the community as a whole. And they don't really understand that, like, what you're doing here, you're practicing it, and you're gonna be just that much more. Like, what you're doing here is gonna resonate when you leave here, right? And I agree, Fritz. Hawaii is expensive. Like, I told you the gas is like almost $6 for regular, right? And going to some of the places to shop, I'm like, it is pretty expensive over here, right? But you can still live in a smart look, y'all. Some of their prices for rent over here for their properties is like some of the prices I see in Virginia, like one bedroom, $3,000. Right? I'm like, bro, that's about my mortgage, and we got a 5-bedroom house. Y'all paying what? Right? And so they have they have hospices here, but they're under, or let me just say, when they say, oh well, some people here, like, they'll move here and try and get on their feet, and they'll go to hospice and they'll stay there. They say like hospice is the place to hang out. I'm like, wait, back at home when we say hospice is like the place, or most of the time, they send you to live out your last days comfortably, right? But here it's like, oh, we just go to hospice, they give us like a bed and stuff. But some people do that when they move here just to get on their feet till they get their job money, whatever, and then they get out. But other people, they just go, and then when they kick you out of hospital, they're like, no worries, there's a bridge over there. They got boxes. I'm just going over here instead of like preparing yourself to do something better. And this is what I'm talking about. He said, and even us, we can look at this stuff and we can observe how they got there. We may not know exactly how they got there, but we can look at the health and strength of different ones and the game that they run. He said, like, pay attention to all of this and where this leads to. Choose what you want to do. Like, oh, shoot, let me set my clock. Okay, I'm going to start being to work 15 minutes early. Like that, I struggle with being on time. I really do. Like, I love discipline, but that's one of my biggest things. I struggle like with procrastination, and I'm that one. If you need to bank on somebody being late somewhere, everybody might know, oh, bam, they gonna be late. So tell them, if the event starts at 6, let them know, everybody. Just tell them the event starts at 4. At least they'll be there by 5:45. I kid you not, right? Look, so, but I know that about myself, but I'm trying to get better. I was like, look, I really got to kick this thing, right? But I realized procrastination is a time management problem, right? You're not triaging your time appropriately. Some people try to fit too much in one little small period of time. It's like our time management is out of whack, which is, it looks like procrastination on the other end, but it's really a time management issue. And I got a whole bunch of stuff going on in my life, and it's like I'm really trying to learn balance. That's my biggest thing. I've been struggling with trying to learn how to balance all of these things. It's like, let's just get a nanny. We need a nanny. Just hire somebody else. But then it's like, what I find myself doing when I find help, I find other things to busy myself with. I'm like, why do I do this? And it's y'all, that's just my thing. I'm just bearing my soul before the brethren, right? So that's something I'm really, really working on. But looking at homeless people, some people choose to be homeless, and that baffles me. It's like, you hate discipline that much that you just gonna choose to be homeless. Like, meaning, like, you may not always have water, like washing your butt, like that doesn't bother you. Parasites living in and on your body, like that does, you don't. I'm just like, this is amazing that all of this is set before us as examples, yet we don't even know that they are examples for us to look at, observe, look at the outcome. Okay, so doing this tends to lead to this. Do I want that for my life? Let's see if we can find something a little bit better. And you go looking, okay, is there another example? Right? So we're looking for other examples, and if you're really savvy and there are no other examples, learn how to take this bad example, extract whatever good from it, whatever good lessons you can take that. I got the matches for the rest, and then you figure out, line yourself up with the Father. Okay, how can we better this? Because that's good there, but we don't need that. How do we develop this for a more solid, stable road for me and my children that's going to come behind me, for anybody else that's even going to be watching my life, right? Look. Oh, a popular pastor in Philly, and he tries. I don't know about all that. I'm not saying that he don't. I'm not sure, because I don't know what they do there or whatever. But when I went, and this is not that long ago, and I know it takes more than one person to, it needs to be a consistent group effort to help really change a city. But in order to change a city, you got to change the people in the city, and you got to start at lower individual levels, right? What is the quality of the individual? I know that they may have the title pastor or what have you, but what really is the true quality of their heart for real? Like, what actions, what good has been done? Or is it just, oh, because your name is this and your status is this. And a lot of times, those be the very ones sometimes that's sitting on their hands and telling people don't funnel out them resources. And, it could be a lot of different things, right? But it takes more than one person. But if each person would take responsibility for their own life, we would literally see a revolution almost overnight in all of our cities. That's if everybody chose to be responsible for themselves, right? And those who can't be responsible for themselves, i.e., children, those who have mental incapacities or whatever, those who are over them should know that and prepare for such things, and to make sure everybody's growing to the best of their ability with whatever state that they're in currently, right? All right, hold on. Let me go back up. The chapter is 30 verses. Can I start it over just one more time? I promise I ain't gonna break it up no more. We are, oh my gosh, we're at an hour and 50 minutes. Let me just one more time. I promise. I keep breaking in with stories. I'm gonna just go through chapter 13, page 707. Man said, it's just every time I go through it, something else just like hits me. Okay. Man said, if I cannot add one jot or tittle to my corporal body, and it is all built up by Jehovah, then indeed it is his. Neither am I accountable whether it be made well or well preserved. And if I cannot make one new thought nor idea, then are all my thoughts and ideas Jehovah's, given to me by inspiration, either directly by Jehovah or by his creations. Neither then am I accountable for my thoughts nor behavior, whether they be good or bad. Verily, then I am not responsible for anything, neither what I am, nor what I do, nor for what becometh of me, but I am as an automation. I myself am nothing. Jehovah said, because I gave thee liberty, thou art responsible for all thou art, and for all thou makest thyself, and for all that shall come to thee, and for thy peace and happiness, both in this world and in the next. Liberty I gave to thee as to what thou shouldest eat, and shouldest wear to cover thyself, and where thou shouldest abide. I gave thee liberty to build thy house in thine own way. But behold, such liberty I gave not to the bird as to her nest, nor to the beaver, nor to the ant, nor to any other living creature. Liberty I gave thee as to whether thou should eat herbs or flesh, but such liberty I gave not to any other living creature. To the sheep and the horse I said, eat ye of herbs. To the tiger and lion, eat ye of flesh. I'm gonna keep going. I was about to say something. I'm gonna keep going. To thee I gave, okay, just let me say this real quick. Really observe these animals and the ones you can approach and literally have on your property or whatever, just ride horseback or whatever, and think about think about flesh eating animals. Ain't nobody gonna come up, let me pet you, lion or tiger or wolf, jackal, all of this. Like you can't even get close to them. Now think about humans who eat flesh. Think about the ones raving mad lunatics. I'm like, buddy, you're good full of flesh and blood, ain't it? Right? Because you spewing out ferociousness, you're biting, chopping off everybody's head. Christians, most of them fall in this because they eating them chicken diddles right after church. They selling them out the back of the church. To the sheep and the horse, I said, eat ye of herbs. To the tiger and lion, eat ye of flesh. To thee I gave liberty to make thyself carnivorous, herbivorous, or omnivorous. Whatsoever thou didst put in thy mouth, and it united with thy blood and entered thy body, behold, it was by my labor and by my power it was accomplished. Verily, I was thy workman. All that thou didst in the matter was to choose. Thou wert in that respect the master, and I the servant. And behold, I made not the servant responsible for the master's behavior. Because thou made thyself carnivorous, the fault is thine own. I placed before thee herbivorous animals and the carnivorous animals, and I gave thee eyes to look upon them as to their behavior, whether ferocious and destructive, or peaceful, patient, and docile. And I spake unto thy soul, saying, Look, judge for thyself as to what thou shalt eat. Behold the order of my creation, and the result upon the living. Hence thou art accountable unto thyself, and responsible unto all the world for having made thy corporal body as thou hast. I gave thee liberty to receive thy inspiration from drunkards and harlots and fighters, or from men of wisdom, or the innocence of childhood, or the virtue of a virgin. And after the virtue of a virgin, after virgin is reference number 5. And 5 at the bottom says, verses 17 and 18 in the 1881 edition are verses 18 and 17 in the 1882 edition, i.e., their position has been reversed. Let me go back. I'll go back to verse 15 on page 707 at the bottom, right hand side. And I spake unto thy soul, saying, Look, judge for thyself as to what thou shalt eat. Behold the order of my creations, and the result upon the living. Hence thou art accountable unto thyself, and responsible unto all the world for having made thy corporal body as thou hast. I gave thee liberty to receive thy inspiration from drunkards and harlots and fighters, or from men of wisdom, or the innocence of childhood, or the virtue of a virgin. Even so, in regard to thy spirit, thy soul, thy mind, thy ideas, and thy thoughts, I gave thee liberty in the same way to behold a city of corruption, or, and after or is reference number 6, and the 6 at the bottom says, or from a city of corruption, or from the country. I'll go back up and I'll read verse 19 again. To behold a city of corruption, or the country with pure air and trees and flowers and mountains and valleys. And I spake unto the soul, saying, Choose thou what thou wilt be to the inspiration of thy mind and spirit and soul. Behold, I, thy creator, am thy servant to impregnate thee with thoughts and ideas. All thou hast to do is choose. Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. Just being here in Hawaii and reading through this and looking at the beauty, like the difference of where I live and here, and the flowers, the beauty of it all, the mixing of the colors of the flowers and the mixing of the peoples, like all of these things I'm observing, like on a whole different level of being here, like the different atmosphere, the beauty of the skies. And like, look, listen. To be verse 19, page 708. To behold a city of corruption, or the country with pure air and trees and flowers and mountains and valleys. And I spake unto thy soul, saying, Choose thou what thou wilt be to the inspiration of thy mind and spirit and soul. Behold, I, thy creator, am thy servant to impregnate thee with thoughts and ideas. And ideas has reference number 7 at the bottom. And it says ideas and disposition. Okay, let me read the whole verse again. And I spake unto thy soul, saying, Choose thou what thou wilt to be the inspiration of thy mind and spirit and soul. Behold, I, thy creator, am thy servant to impregnate thee with thoughts and ideas. All thou hast to do is choose. Red pill or blue pill? You choose. Verse 21, Yea, I said, I will even take thee to whichever place and condition thou mayest choose. And now, because I gave, and after gave is reference number 8, and 8 says unto. And now, because I gave thee this extreme liberty, and now because I gave thee this extreme liberty, and thou hast chosen, behold, thou art accountable to thyself for every thought and idea. And after thou art accountable to, after 2 is reference number 9, 9 says unto. And now, because I gave thee this extreme liberty, and thou hast chosen, behold, thou art accountable to thyself for thine every thought and idea, and for thy spirit and soul, and in thy behavior to all the world. After behavior is reference number 10. 10 says, thou art responsible unto all the world. Verse 23, and we're almost done. It's 30 verses. We're on verse 23, page 708. With liberty I bestowed responsibility also. I am the power, the light, and the life. In one thing thou art not responsible, nor in automation. And after automation is reference number 11. 11 at the bottom says, chiefly thou art not responsible, nor in automation. Let me read it again. In one thing thou art not responsible, nor in automation, and that is thine own entity, thine own self, thine own I am. And it's reference number 12 after thine own I am, and 12 at the bottom says, thy own whatsoever thou art. He said, whatsoever you are, you're responsible. You're responsible. Like if you're homeless, like you're responsible for this. You can't blame anybody else. You can't, like, the pity party, all of that needs to stop. You're here because of all of the choices you made. You chose this, you chose this, you chose that, and you chose this, which landed you here. It's a math and it's a calculation problem to see where people are at, where they are at any given time. And it's an easy math. It's simply addition, right? And then with some addition, you got to start subtracting, right? You got to balance the books. This is exactly what this is. Look, we're almost done. Verse 25, I'll go back up. In one thing thou art not responsible, nor in automation, and that I'm sorry. In one thing thou art not responsible, nor in automation, and that is thine own entity, thine own self, thine own I am, meaning whatsoever you are. Thyself I gave to thyself, and even at the zero of thy entity, I said, and after I said is reference number 13, so all these references real close together. 13 says, say it unto thee. Thyself I gave to thyself, and even at the zero of thy entity, I said, go thou, make thyself. All other animals I created perfectly with my own hands, but to thee I gave thee liberty to make thyself even as thou hast. It just reminded me of these people that want to be dogs again. They apparently, their reasoning, I watched the Dog Kingdom where I want to be a dog. And you got people, you want to be a dog? Can I be your handler? I'm about to dog walk the both of you. You're not paying attention. Look, hold up. Thyself, verse 26. We almost done. I promise y'all we are. We finishing at 30. We're on 26. Thyself I gave to thyself, and even at the zero of thy entity, at the very base level, at the zero of thy entity, right? And even at the zero of thy entity, I said, go thou, make thyself. All other animals I created perfectly with my own hands, but to thee I gave liberty to make thyself, even as thou hast, self-made, right? Yea, even in this I said, choose thou, and I will do the labor myself for thee. And after for thee is reference number 14. 14 at the bottom says, will do for thee the labor myself for thee, right? You choose, I'm gonna bring it to pass, right? The results. Look, this is beautiful. Thyself I gave to thyself, and even at the zero of thy entity, I said, go thou, make thyself. All other animals I created perfectly with my own hands, but to thee I gave liberty to make thyself, even as thou hast. Yea, even in this I said, choose thou, and I will do the labor myself for thee. So, so that, so that choice and liberty were the sum total which I gave to thee. Now, therefore, O man, as I gave choice and liberty unto thee, so shalt thou give the same unto thy neighbor and associate. Without these, there is no responsibility. With these, all responsibility. Choose thou thine own food and raiment, and thine house, and choose thou the place, and provide the way for whatever inspiration thou mayest. Still, thou shalt be responsible in all, whether the result be good or evil, according to thy choice, whether thou fawn upon Satan or emulate thy creator. And so, through this last verse, it's three different references. Choose thine own food, and after and is reference number 15. 15 says, thine own raiment. The next portion of the verse, and choose thou the place and provide. After provide is reference number 16. 16 says, provide thou. Up towards the end, it says, whether the result be good or evil, according to thy choice, is the last reference number 17. And 17 says, and the result shall be to thee according to thine own choice, whether. So let me go back and reread this again. But let me go back up to 27, just to keep it all in its context. So that choice and liberty were the sum total which I gave to thee. Now therefore, O man, as I gave choice and liberty unto thee, so shalt thou give the same unto thy neighbor and associate. Without these, there is no responsibility. With these, all responsibility, right? He says, so don't hold men in bondage. Give them the same opportunity to choose. You don't choose for them. Let them choose themselves. Therefore, the responsibility, it always lies on them, right? And I don't make the servant, I don't hold you liable for the choices of the master, because you're simply the servant, right? They're choosing. So that choice and liberty were the sum total which I gave to thee. Now therefore, O man, as I gave choice and liberty unto thee, so shalt thou give the same unto thy neighbor and associate. Without these, there is no responsibility. With these, all responsibility. Choose thou thine own food and raiment and thine house, and choose thou the place, and provide the way for whatever inspiration thou mayest. Still, thou shalt be responsible in all, whether the result be good or evil, according to thy choice, whether thou fawn upon Satan or emulate thy creator. This was amazing. Oh, absolutely amazing. All right, beautiful people. I did not think it would take this long, but it did, and I'm glad. All right. It is Monday, October the 10th, 2022, day 234 of year 4, reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1253. We are in Oahspe in the book of inspiration, and we read chapter 8 to chapter 13. To chapter 13, which is found on pages 704 to 708. Father, we thank you that you are the ultimate servant. Now that we understand what a servant is just a little bit more, we thank you that you are the ultimate servant, and the example that you give to us, it's really clear. It's really concise. And we thank you that you create and give liberty to all mankind to choose, so we can be responsible and we can grow. And we're actually putting, and when we do this, we're actually emulating the creator, like it says, and we're putting into practice being God, so to speak, or the creator, having the ability to freely choose. This is just great. It keeps getting better day by day. We started off, we added Oahspe to our list of books that we're researching. I am not in the least bit regretful, ashamed, even though since we started reading it, it just seemed like, not because we reading it, because clearly some people been doing it, but it seemed like the more we started reading, it became like this big talk all over social media and stuff, and people are really coming against it. I don't regret not in one bit for choosing to add this to our list of research books and reading. I've grown so much in the last few months of reading just Oahspe versus all the other books we added to our list of research books that we read out loud, walking through this together while we grow spiritually. I don't regret it at all. And at this moment, I take this book and put it at the top of the list, the highest recommendation out of all of them. Listen, my son asked me, my oldest son, he said, Mom, out of all the things, right? Because remember, oldest son, he was like born time we were still Christians. Jeremiah, Elijah is the oldest. He's 26 now, and then Jeremiah 19, right? So, but after when it was with Jeremiah that we started breaking ourselves away from like the religious circles and stuff, really just trying to flush out all the garbage from the truth. Um, and he was like, "So, Mom, today, based on all you've learned, if somebody came to you for spiritual advice on what they should do, like if they don't know if they should start going to church or go back to church, like he was really serious about this. And I can tell because he's at that point where he's observing things, and I've been like he been seeing me all his life, and he's seen the different phases us going through and how we're adjusting our beliefs. And it's like you keep changing. I was like, because I didn't know this then. Now that I know this, I cannot in good conscience continue to keep doing this. He said, yeah, that makes sense, right? So even in my growth process, our growth process of developing spiritually, our older children are paying attention because they have to kind of come out of that too. But I can't force them like, listen, stop doing this just because I said so, because we doing it. But they're at the point where they can reason and they're observing. And it's freeing on so many levels. It is so freeing, not just for me, but to see that by me asking questions and them coming to ask me questions about what they're observing us doing and things that they stopped seeing us doing is helping to free them. They was like, so why did we ever start doing that in the first place? I was like, because we was kind of told to, and we thought because it was the right thing to do. At least that's what they told us, and we believed that. We trusted them. We trusted our pastors, and and they're still operating from a lot of them are still operating from ignorance, but that's their highest point of light of where they're operating from. So they can't teach you anything different. And I don't hold them accountable for some of the wrong things that they taught because that's all they knew, right? But now that we have the ability to, I mean, now that we're beginning to use our ability to ask questions, it's like, well, can we really no longer just want to go with the flow? Can we ask a question like, why are we doing this? Like, y'all remember that? I'm sure everybody didn't hear this story about a ham. Don't get freaked out on me because I'm talking about a ham, right? But this is example, right? So you got this family of women that for holidays, let's use Thanksgiving, right? For Thanksgiving, Big Mama pull out this pan to cook the family ham in, right? Do the ham with pineapple seasoned up, all this good stuff, right? And the daughter always observed Mama, or let's go back to Grandma. Grandma, she doing the ham, she's seasoning it all up, put the pineapples and the cherries and all that stuff on it, and then she cut the front part of the ham off, and the back end of the ham off, and put it in the pan and stuff. So Mom is watching Grandma, which is her mom, do this, and she learned how to season her ham in the same way. And so as she started cooking for her family, making ham for I'm bringing the ham. Big Mama that told me how to make the ham. She passed down the secret recipe to me. I'm bringing the ham, right? And so you doing it just like Big Mama taught you how to do. You cut the front end of the ham off, cut the butt end of the ham off, and you put it in the pan, right? And so now as the years progress and the daughters are cooking hams, you bringing this big ham, and you got you bring this big pan with a big ham, and sometimes it seems like the pans are getting bigger, but the hams are getting smaller. But you're still cutting off the head and the butt of the ham, right? Bringing it until finally my generation comes along. But like, so I'm asking question, observing. Okay, so why did you now she got the pan. The ham can fit in the pan easy. Matter of fact, the pan is too big, but you still cutting the head and the butt off the ham and sitting it in the pan and sliding all around the pan and stuff. You got all this ham juice, flesh splashing all over the splashing all over the place. Then finally somebody that come along my generation, let's say Big Mama's still alive, right? And so you ask your mom, why? I notice every Thanksgiving before we make this ham the same way, but you're cutting off the head and the butt of the ham. And why are we cutting off the head and the butt of the ham? I don't know. That's how I saw my mama do it. Good question. Let's go ask Big Mama. Mom, which we grandma, Big Mom, whatever. why you cut the, and let's say she knew, right? And she followed, but somehow that bit of information that she about to reveal to her daughter, it was passed along with her, but Big Mama didn't pass that bit of information to her daughter. And so now subsequent generations are just not ignorantly doing it without understanding why they did it, which is why you got ham juice splashing all around this big pan and stuff. And she said, oh, that's simple, because I had a small pan. We needed something to cook it in. We ain't have anything. We ain't had no money to go buy a bigger pan. So we just cut the head and the butt of the ham off, and it fit perfectly into our small pan. It's like, so you mean to tell me we, first of all, we paid $100 for this ham. We chopped away $50, and all we had to do was go get a bigger pan to fit the whole ham in, and we can feast on all the flesh and blood of this pig. But y'all get what I'm saying, right? A lot of times that's what's happening to us, right? And pastors, they're constantly there, and not just pastors. I'm gonna cut them some slack, but this happens everywhere, not just in the church, but it happens everywhere. People are doing what they see other people doing. They're taking the information and they're just repeating it without asking questions and why, to see if we need to adjust it in this generation. We have a lot of things that we're doing in this generation that should be adjusted, not just here spiritually, but in the governments. You got old, outdated laws. Multiple kings and presidents have come and gone, and you still sticking to the stuff that they done set in place in 1776. Well, by golly, we're in 2022. First of all, we don't even talk like that anymore. Let's update the language, right? Not that we're using slang, let's use appropriate language. But what is this? Like, what is that? Why does this even need to still be in here? Like, it's like, leave it alone. The founding fathers did this. We don't want to desecrate this sacred document. I said, but the document been desecrated. It's been out of date. And y'all putting us in the jail, but now you come back. We're gonna legalize marijuana. It should have been legal. And make sure you release everybody that you put in jail that's still alive, right? Like, all of these things. No, right, routine, without anybody stopping, adjusting it when need be. Well, don't you adjust your clothes when they get a little too tight for your butt? Right? It's time for bigger clothes because the body has grown bigger. Don't you adjust your shoe size? Why should not we adjust the laws when the community of people becomes more righteous? Why don't we adjust the laws? Right? I mean, there can definitely still be some stuff that's set in stone, basic. You ever violate these? This is a no, right? But some things can be adjusted because the generations are growing smarter and they just don't engage in this type of behavior anymore, right? But yeah, y'all get it. But anyway, way past my time today. But yeah, so that was just a little bit what I wanted to share, y'all. Look, I know, right? It's a new sheriff in town. His name is Oahspe. So that's what I told my son was, this is the generation where we're adjusting and we're making changes. All these outlaw, what I would say should be outlawed. Oahspe, I'm rendering judgment against this. We're rendering judgment against this. This is now considered an abomination. Y'all way too smart for this. You are 14 years old. You knew better not to draw on my wall. So now the fire is coming for your tail, right? It's like you knew better. We're not trying to hold adults and grown people to laws that should only apply when you're at the age of childhood. We have developed or should be developed far enough to where when the laws and stuff that we had to abide by as children, you can't cook. Now it's like get in there and cook, right? So that's what it's saying. The father's like, some people read it's like, well, what the contradiction? The father said, well, he created it to be so here, but now he said he outlawing that, and now we doing the direct opposite. It sounds like the creator's bipolar to me. No, you're lacking understanding. When you was a child, you thought like a child. Now that you become a full-grown adult, I expect you to put your childish ways aside, and your brain and your goddamn common sense should have developed too. But apparently it hasn't, because what's common to some is not common to all. Therefore, you lack common sense. Now, let me teach you the commonality of what all adults should have at this age. First of all, if you got working hands and you got working feet and you got the ability to reason and think, go in there and look in that refrigerator and find something and cook, or you gonna starve. Well, I'm in there cooking up breakfast pancakes and, fresh fruit and stuff for the babies, but you cooking for them, but you can't cook it for me. What's wrong with your hands? Right? And now I'll move my neck. Well, what's wrong with your hands? Right? And so that's why I tell my son, I said, understanding all that I understand now, he asked me, he said, out of all the books, he said, because He said, there is no end to your books and your research. He said, and big ups for that, Mom. He said, but what about the people that don't want to go through all that? Just give me what you know to be truth now. What would you tell them? I said, out of all of this, if there was one that I would recommend, now by going through it myself and testing, understanding some things, and having already been through all those other things, going through the religions, testing what's good, should we keep this, was Jesus real, all this stuff, and getting the gist of everything, that the gist of all of this, what people have taken and made a religion and are holding you to man-made rules and regulations and stuff. Out of all of this, what I understand is that the Creator wants us to think for ourselves and to be responsible for ourselves. And I said, the book, the reference point, if I had to recommend a book to give to anybody, I would say Oahspe covers that, and it teaches you that. It shows you how everything happens, what happens when you're in bondage to other people, how it degrades you. It lowers not just your physical state, but your spiritual state. It gives a lot of different examples from different time periods, and even things that hadn't even come to pass when this was penned, that even in our generation now, that they're testing to find out that the information that we didn't know then, it was found in here in Oahspe in 1881. Scientifically, in this community here, we didn't come to this realization to 2003, right? And so how does that happen? I said, I would recommend Oahspe. At this point, this day in my life, I would recommend Oahspe, and I would tell them, read it without bias, right? Don't listen to what anybody else has to say. Get Oahspe, read it from the beginning and go all the way to the end, right? Read it to get, just like I told you, with the Bible and stuff, read it. Don't try to read it to pull out, to cherry pick, because you're not authorized to cherry pick through this shit, right? You got to go through and you got to read it from beginning to end, unbiased, without anybody else's take. If they didn't already volunteered their opinion to you about it and they say it's trash, throw it in the trash. Okay, thank you for that. Let me take everybody's opinions, all this, put them all in this bag. Everybody else's opinion, put them in the bag, sit it up on the shelf. You ain't got to get rid of it. But then you put that over there, block out what they said, and read it like you had never heard anything they said, and you judge the material for yourself, right? And then after you read it the first time, read it again to make sure you kept everything in context, because as you're reading, what I be getting is just what happens with us as we read. Things in life tend to line up with what we're reading to show us the truth and reveal to us and to help us prove principles and things that we're finding. At least to me, with me, that's what's happened with me all my life. Whatever I'm reading, y'all hear me say it. Like even to when my grandma passed, like that day, I'll never forget that day. We were reading about the day Elijah was going to be taken away from Elisha. And that when I read it out loud, I knew that was going to be the day that my grandma, like I was already prepared spiritually that she was going to go. And even for a few years, she was trying to tell me, I'm like, Grandma, I'm like, okay, I'll talk, just call me when you're ready, right? And so she said, I need to talk to you about something. Like, okay, but every time she said it, I knew what she was saying, but it's just like, okay, Grandma, all right, change the subject and stuff. But I already knew it. I was having dreams about it, but I was in denial. But that morning, I never forget it. It's one of the lives we did when my grandma passed, 2019, that morning. And when I spoke it out of my mouth, I knew that would be the day that my grandmother would be taken away from us, right? And a couple hours later, lo and behold, grandmother passed away. It said, do you not know that your master will be taken away from you today, right? And I'm like, and I just get kind of, I'm going to hold my composure. But just go through and test it. At my highest light, the information to my son, at my highest light as of today, if I had to recommend a spiritual resource whatsoever, to help somebody develop spiritually that don't really know, what would you recommend? And with all of what I just gave, everything I learned today, I said hands down, I would recommend Oahspe. I said, don't listen to what anybody else say, debates and stuff, because people hear the word and they start Googling. And what tends to pop up first is everything negative about it. I said, kill all of that. Just like you go to judge movies, don't spoil it for me. I don't want any kind of spoilers. Let me go watch it myself and let me judge it for myself. Do that same thing with this. This is what as of today, not saying I may or may not come across anything else that's even higher raised than this, because I'm sure I will. And at that point, I'll say, I would, at this point in my life, what I understand, all that I learned, tested at my highest light, I'm going to give you where I learned my highest light. Yes, there were steps to get there, but what I would recommend this. look at this and test the information for yourself, right? But at that point, as I get higher, I should be able to pinpoint where they're at. And I may need to, I can tell them about this, but I would recommend take this, remember this, get this, don't read this yet, or you can, but you may not be able to understand. Maybe you need to go back one, check into this reference or this to kind of help you understand, and then pay attention to life. Like now when I talk to people, it's not just I'm giving them book knowledge, and that's where religion gets everybody chopped and screwed up at. They're just giving you the information out the book without giving you the examples in real life, because that's what it's about. Observe everything around you. Look at the outcomes. How do we apply it? Well, what happened to you when you applied that? What happened to you? What happened to you? If everything is consistent across the board and everybody tried this, the 14 people you done asked, and consistently all 14 people got their neck broke and they walking around with the thing and they paralyzed on the necks down, you best believe if you do what they did, you're gonna be 15th one who walk around here with your rolling around here with your neck broke. Because if your neck broke, everything below it goes out of whack, right? So you might not want to do what they did. 14 people showed and proved, right? I'm gonna prove the next one wrong. Ooh, you got a broke neck too? I'm back here. Okay, so is this the only one? Is there not another choice? I'm that one. I'm gonna step back. I like my neck. I like to be able to move my limbs. We're gonna figure out another choice. If that's the only one right now, then I'm not gonna make a choice, because that's gonna get my neck broke. And there has to be another way to save my neck. All right, y'all, I'm about to get out of here. That is it. That is it. That is it. I love y'all. I see y'all back here Tuesday. Tuesday we won't be here, which is tomorrow, right? We're observing the Sabbath according to the moon cycle, the monthly cycle of the moon. So we off. So hopefully I can catch up on some of this sleep if there is such a thing, right? Maybe I just need to be triaging my time here on vacation too, right? So we'll come back here Wednesday. Hold up. Yes, we leave Wednesday, which is the 12th, but we don't leave to the evening. So we'll be live on the 12th Wednesday, but I'm gonna have to do a double video. Look, I'm gonna make sure before we get out this hotel that I upload the video for Thursday, because come Thursday our flight back home is gonna be overnight, and I'm not, about the time I will be switching flights. It's going to have to be pre-recorded. So Thursday's video on the 13th is going to be pre-recorded, and it'll be a live premiere. I'll set the time, and hopefully all things go well, it'll upload while we're here, so that way it'll start on time, and I won't run into that same issue that I did the day we left. And it took forever to upload, and it didn't even upload to the nighttime, and probably half of y'all was asleep anyway. All right, so with that being said, beautiful people, I love y'all, and I will see y'all back here Wednesday morning, bright and early, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I'm gonna be still uploading some stuff. So if y'all over there on Facebook, you will see some of the shenanigans. I still got a lot of stuff to upload that I'm gonna share, and even some of the nature pictures and stuff, and videos that we got. I'm gonna upload it to YouTube too. But I'm gonna put those in, all of the personal ones and family things that I choose to upload here, just so you can see a little bit about me and my family, what we experience, know that we real people and all this stuff, so you can really get to know us on a more personal level. All of that stuff is in a playlist entitled It's the Murphys, right? And so you can find the shenanigans about us there. All right, so with that being said, beautiful people, I love y'all. I see y'all back here Wednesday morning, bright and early, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Creator gang. Peace. Bye, y'all. I'm going back to bed.